I'm here with Vuk Sucic. Vuk was the coach of the team from the University of Belgrade that won the fourth Monroe Prize Media Law Moot Court competition in Oxford in March 2011. So Vuk, thank you for being with us today. Vuk, how did your team come to participate in the Monroe Prize Moot Court competition, and how did you go about choosing this moot court?
Well, we had student initiative. On that matter, they approached me with the idea of coaching them for the Moot competition because I had previous Moot experience both as a student, participant, and later as a coach and judge.
Could you tell us if you or your team had any background in media law before you did this moot court competition? Were all of you new to this field?
Well, actually, all of us were completely new to the field. I have a background in administrative law and general law, of course, and all the other students, they don't have a special course in media law at our faculty, so they did not take the subject. They were new to it.
Do you think that proved to be an advantage or a disadvantage while preparing for this moot court competition?
For me as a coach, it was a big disadvantage. It would be easier if I knew how to direct them with the literature, with how to prepare, how to think, how to make their basic categories for framing their speeches, but for them, they said that it was an advantage because they weren't framed before and they could do their way of thinking and be fresh in it.
Could you tell us something about how this team was formed? What was the process involved at the university to form this moot court team?
Well, actually the students were those who engaged in collecting the money, so they themselves formed the team. I did not participate in that. I was happy to do with them because I knew that if they have such a huge motivation to go into such a hard work of gathering the money to fund our journey here, they would be good in mooting as well.
Well, could you also give us a sense of the time that your team spent on preparing for this moot court competition? How much time was spent writing the memorials, and once the memorials were submitted, how much practice was involved for the oral rounds before coming to Oxford?
Well, the entire process lasted for 6.5 months. The first part for memorials, I was not so engaged. I was the one structuring their arguments, saying how they should do it, but they were the one doing research and writings, and I think that took really a lot of their time, not only spare time, but the time that should be dedicated to regular university chores. And the other part, when we submitted the memorials, we prepared for all oral rounds 3 to 5 times per week. After we submitted memorials, we gathered around in between 5 to 3 times per week because in the beginning, no, students did not have any moot competition. Only one member had some previous moot competition, and it was a modest one. So they needed a lot of mooting advice, how to behave, what to say, how to structure their arguments. So it took a bit of our time. We came to know each other very well. We spent probably more of our free time with each other than with our families, but this is how the mooting goes. It's a thing that you love and you have to do it that way. So it lasted quite a bit. Looking
back, as you said, you came with an extremely inexperienced mooting team to Oxford. What do you think was the most important advice that you gave your team during the course of their preparation?
First, I gave them a couple of advices on how to behave as a team. What should they do at each session when they appear before judges, when they are sitting. Afterwards, I told them how to structure their arguments, in the sense that although you know what you are going to say, you have to make others understand what you are saying. So the basic mooting rule of saying what you are going to say it and say it again. So I also gave them an advice on structuring the argument itself, in the sense that you have to give the law first, and this is what is basically disputable here, and all the Moot problems are written that way, and that afterwards you should give the facts of the case, which are something that is not susceptible to change, so it's an easier part, and then to make your conclusion with a punchline in the end.
I'm sure you found yourself in an interesting situation when you left Belgrade. So what were the expectations while you got onto that plane to come to Oxford?
Well, we expected not to be the last, and this is not false modesty. We really said that. Well, I told the students before they came, before we sat on our plane, that what we are doing and preparing is just for them to be satisfied when they appear before the judges, and that I'm not going to make any kind of remarks and say I expected this or that. So our expectations were basically zero.
Given that your expectations were quite low, it must have been quite exciting for you when the teams for the quarterfinals were announced. Take us through that moment when your team heard that your team had finished in the top 8.
Well, I suppose that Belgrade was not famous only for winning, but for yelling the most. I wasn't expecting that, and I actually had an hour before that a conversation with one of the team members, Adriana, who is an optimist in the group, who was always saying, "Yeah, we came here to win." And I said, "No, I don't expect that to happen. I hope that we will win maybe one round in qualifications, just not to come back as last." And then when they announced it, I called my colleagues who are doing the other moots in Belgrade University, and they were thrilled with the idea. I was thrilled with the idea of telling them, we came out 6th. We won 3 rounds in qualifications. That's a tremendous result for a first-timer, a debutant team.
Did your expectations change once you qualified for the quarterfinals and then the semifinals? Was there more pressure on your team?
We were, at least I was as a coach, extremely relaxed. First because we achieved a tremendous success by entering the quarterfinals, and second because the students were, each time we finished a round, I would give them remarks saying, "This is what you should have done, this is what you did, do not repeat this mistake, this was a great argument, this is what you came up with new, I never heard that was an excellent answer," and things like that. But when we started the elimination rounds, they were just perfect. I would just sit back and be happy.
We'd also like your views on the judges that you came up against. We try very hard to get an extremely high quality of judges. How did you perceive the quality of judging?
I participated, as I said, in a couple of moots myself, and I must say that the quality of judges here is very, very high. This was on the one hand satisfying, and on the other frightening, both for me and team members. Somebody who is in the top of the game here is going to question you on something that you're a beginner at.
I remember that we had to wait a really long time for the judges to decide the results of the finals, and I'm sure that was an extremely nervous time for you and your team. Just take us through those moments, and then your reactions while you finally won the competition.
I mean, the reaction was the one that I mentioned, yelling and cheering. But the waiting for results, there was no suspense on my side. I was just so happy to see them, that they came to finals, that they were so sure of themselves. The way they performed in finals, I don't know whether I could do it alone in my own room, giving such a speech and talking to 6 judges, out of which you don't know which one is higher in its profession. I was just pleased.
Look, it would be great if you could give us your impressions of Oxford, of being here for a week. Did you get to see a lot of the place, or did the Moot Court take up most of your time?
We liked what we saw. We did not see much of Oxford. We planned to do that the last day. We didn't expect to come to elimination rounds, so we left it like that. But what we caught was a bit of the atmosphere, going to the pubs each night and talking to other people, other teams. I really liked it, and I think the students did the same.
Given that you brought an inexperienced team to Oxford and won this moot court competition, what does it mean for you personally and for your team, and most importantly for the Faculty of Law at the University of Belgrade?
When we came back to Serbia, there was this huge surprise about the way this was received in Serbia. We had a connection flight in Frankfurt, so at the airport the public broadcaster agency main news show called me and said, okay, are you going to say something? I said, okay, this is what we did. And then later people, a couple of hours after that, started calling me because I thought that I was giving an interview in the sense that they are going to give a line about that, but it was the first news on the top rated, most viewed show in the Serbia. So after that, students had a week of fame because we went on all national TVs. We were constantly in newspapers, radio shows. It was really something that you would not expect. Maybe it has to do with media, love talking about media, and when they heard that we won in media law and Oxford having such a reputation, they just got the news.
How do you think this has contributed, if at all, to generating some interest in media law at the University of Belgrade?
First, the students that participated here at the competition, along with some people that are working as media law practitioners and scholars in Serbia, had 3 media law seminars for judges, students, practitioners. It was well received. I have a lot of students applying for the competition this year, and me personally, I came here to learn about media law in order to maybe start a media law course at the Belgrade faculty. We have it as an optional course, but none of the students still took it. It was listed as a subject very recently.
As you know, we have teams from different parts of the world, some with very little access to resources on media law. What would your advice be to such teams preparing to come to Oxford?
To relax and enjoy. We did not have resources. We did not have anybody who is going to teach us what media law is. We had internet to access. We did not have much of literature, of course, some basic. And I mean, we had no fear because we had no expectations.
In terms of your personal career plans, how important was this moot court competition for you?
There are a couple of things that I would like to do. Some of them I already did. The first one was to apply for the Annenberg-Oxford Summer Institute in Media Law and Policy, and well, here I am. The other is what I mentioned, to maybe make a course, an optional course, not only as a subject, to engage media practitioners and scholars in Serbia to make a group course like we have it here. And thirdly, maybe to, well, of course, to continue coaching teams. And finally, one day maybe to have a regional Moot in media law in Belgrade.
Vuk, I would like you to give us a sense of the resources you had access to in Belgrade while preparing for this moot court competition.
Only the basic ones. The books that we took from Council of Europe, maybe some really basic textbooks on media law, but they are really scarce in Serbia. And well, all the sources that we had on the internet. So this is what was mainly the basis of research.
Thank you, Vuk, for taking the time out to talk to us and giving us a wonderful account of the journey from Belgrade to Oxford. Thank you.